Hey Cancer, this is going to be your 2025 predictions for the whole year. We're going to go through all of the big major trends, of which there are a lot. So let's just dive right in. So the first thing that we'll talk about is the Mars retrograde. We start the year off with a Mars retrograde. It starts off in Leo, but it quickly moves into your sign, where it will stay until April 18th. But we will feel the effects of this transit for at least the first half of the year, if not really the full year. So this will be really significant for you, obviously, since this is happening in your sign as well. So it starts off in that second house, though, which is the house of money. So I think a lot of Cancers are going to feel really motivated to make money here at the beginning of the year, but you might feel a little frustrated with concepts around money as well. I definitely see some power struggles for you guys in regards to money since it's opposing Pluto several times through that transit. So you might be dealing with some toxic situations around money. Maybe somebody is trying to control you financially. Maybe they give you money so that they have control over you, or maybe you're doing what they say because they make more money than you. There just seems to be some sort of toxic dynamic when it comes to who's making money and who's doing what, and just kind of how that dichotomy plays out. The advice that I have for you is to really try, when you can, to let go anyways of situations, even if it is going to affect you financially, because um if it is a situation in which you're being controlled that way, it's never really going to end. So in the long run, it's not really going to be worth it for you. Um, but these are themes that may come up for you here in the beginning of the year. Now, when it does, and also in April when it goes back into Leo. Now, like I said, a lot of the retrograde though is actually going to be in Cancer, which is your own sign. So this is going to make you feel a lot more energetic when it is back in your sign. It was in your sign already there at the end of 2024 as well. But this is a lot of times when we have Mars in our sign, we're just like motivated. We're like, let's go. I want to go do stuff. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have more energy this year than you have for a while. And you're going to, and honestly, some people might think it's annoying. Like some people are gonna see you as being sort of aggressive or pushy, even if you don't feel like you're being that, just because you are excited and I think of like Aries energy, right? Like you are just fired up and want to move things forward. Other people might interpret that as like, whoa, what is like your deal? But you are just on a mission is really how I see it here. So um that said, a lot of times also when we have Mars go through our sign, we feel more motivated to like work out or go to the gym or clean our house. um, or something along those lines. It's a good time for you to try to like really be in your body or with your body here. Honestly, a lot of times when Mars is in Cancer, there are some pent up feelings involved. So a good way for you to maybe release some of those feelings, since I do notice as we go through the transits, you'll see that many of you are also dealing with kind of like feelings of loss or struggle. Um, I would say this time period, especially here in like March, um, is a really good time for you to really, and the surrounding time frames there. So the beginning of the year is a good time for you to really connect with your body. So maybe get into like swimming or dancing, or find ways to be in your body, because that'll help you feel those feelings and release them. And that should be able to help you start to get more leeway in some of these other areas when Mars goes direct. So one of the other things that we'll talk about is the Venus retrograde. So we have both Mars and Venus retrograding this year, which is a bummer. But the Venus retrograde starts in Aries and switches back to Pisces, which is your 10th and ninth house. Now, although this retrograde is technically only occurring between March 1st and April 12th, due to the nature of this retrograde, it's going to be felt for the majority of the year. So it's a very significant one. Now, being that this starts off in your 10th, I feel like this is you reconfiguring your career in some way. Um, Maybe how you make money, maybe you're reevaluating that, or how you present yourself, like your reputation, how you promote yourself from sort of a business standpoint. So maybe some of you will be um, rewriting your CV, your resume, or maybe for some of you guys, you are um revamping like a website, like if you have a business maybe, um something like along those lines. I can definitely see you just generally like reevaluating how you market yourself and like what you offer. You may also be kind of reevaluating sort of like relationships with superiors. Maybe some of you are reconnecting with old colleagues or bosses, or it would be a good idea for you to do so, because if you do so, then you may get some good, they might point you in the right direction on some sort of maybe training you can do or something like that. I just see a lot of you guys here on the first part of when it first goes retrograde in your 10th, which is March. So all of March, it's like you are really spending more time at the very beginning of the year here reevaluating how you present yourself. And then this leads you to kind of realizing that there are some new ways that you could change to like market yourself better. That and then when it goes into Pisces there in April, maybe April is when you're starting to shift over to like, okay, let's rework maybe our website or some sort of training or cert that I need or something like that. Or it would be beneficial for you to do that. Um, because then you can utilize that to kind of like jet set yourself off into more career success when it goes back into Aries later, which would probably be like May. Um, Now we also have Mercury retrogrades. We have 3 Mercury retrogrades every year. This year they're having primarily in fire signs. So fire signs rule your second, sixth, and 10th houses. So all of those are like career money related houses. So again, a lot of you guys are really looking at the sort of the practical areas of your life a lot this year, and you're reevaluating it in some major ways. Some of you guys might be maybe reconnecting with old clients or coworkers or employees, um, or just old business ideas that you may have had in the past that you felt like kind of piddled out or didn't go where you wanted. This would be a good year for you to try to revisit and revive those in some way. Even if you don't like completely go forward with that business idea, it may give you inspiration to kind of branch off into something similar, or it'll lead you on a path in which you can make use of that sort of overlooked potential. I think is what you might find is overlooked potential as well. And the reason I keep really hanging on to like projects and businesses and things like that is because we also have Saturn and Neptune entering your 10th house this year. So I think a lot of you guys are going to start feeling really disillusioned with your career generally. Now they are going to be entering Aries. Neptune is going to enter March 30th, Saturn on May 24th. Then they'll meet up in the sky in what's called a conjunction on June 15th. What's interesting is they're going to dance around each other, though. They're going to retrograde back into Pisces and do this again in 2026. So the themes that you are about to experience, you are going to repeat them in 2026, most likely. Okay. So with Neptune and Saturn coming into your 10th, unfortunately, a lot of times this can really bring a lot of scrutiny into people's lives. So you might feel like people are really questioning your know-how. Maybe they're challenging your knowledge, or questioning if you should be in the position of authority that you're in. So maybe, and this might be career related, but it could also just be like your reputation. Like maybe there's someone who's bringing into question if you're a good parent, for example. Or maybe people are bringing into question if you're professional enough or if you are knowledgeable enough for the role that you're in. It's gonna make you feel kind of burned out. And I think one reason that makes you feel more burnt out is because you're leaving a time period of being more isolated. Really, some of these past transits, especially even in the beginning here of 2025, has you kind of wanting to retreat more a little bit. And 2024 is really mainly what I'm talking about. And so you're kind of coming from a time period where you've been more uh alone or pulled back in some way, right? Um, and so now that you are getting kind of pushed into the limelight more, this is going to feel like a lot for you, I think. Um, it's going to feel like a lot of work too. I feel like with Saturn, a lot of times we don't get the recognition that we deserve, or we feel like we're working really hard, like 3 times as hard for like half the return or whatever, something along those lines, right? I can see all of that really happening here for you. I think a lot of you will feel really disillusioned with your career in general or whatever it is that you're doing. You may decide you want to pivot in some way into something that you think is more aligned to you spiritually. Maybe something that is more aligned, yeah, to just your soul growth and your general beliefs. Like I think you're going to be coming from that kind of area more so as well. So I do see a lot of you guys really wanting to make big shifts around your career and things like that. But I think that you're going to be a little unsure about how to do that or what direction to take here with it being Neptune as well. Neptune always brings this element of like confusion and I don't know what to do. I do think it also, with Neptune in the 10th, can also bring a lot of attention your way. With Saturn here, though, I don't know that this will always be really good attention. As I said, this might also be like negative feedback sometimes or rumors. Maybe people are telling rumors about you or rumors that have been being told about you might come back around to you. We're going to talk about Pluto here at the end, but Pluto's been going through your 8th here for a little bit. So you've already kind of been addressing like, who can I really trust and things like that. So unfortunately, you might find out that maybe some of these people you can't really trust and things like that. So that's kind of what I see playing out. Jupiter is also shifting signs this year. So Jupiter starts out in Gemini and then shifts to Cancer to your own sign here in June. So it starts out in your 12th house. And I love that for you because honestly, you need the spiritual help. I feel like you have like kind of an evil eye. Watch out for like evil eyes and haters and stuff like that. That's what I feel for Cancer. Um, honestly. But with Jupiter in your 12th there, I don't think that a lot of the things that people are going to try to push your way or the scrutiny that you're going to face is really going to stick in a way, or at least not impact you too deeply because with Jupiter in the 12th, that's one of the most underrated position for Jupiter to be in. It gives you an opportunity to really have kind of like a guardian angel on your side. Okay. When people have this placement natally, they've often told me that they feel like they have like a protection guardian angel. Like they've had near death experiences or situations where it almost just went absolutely horrible, but they were like saved at the last minute or something like that. Um, and that's often what Jupiter in the 12th is about. It's like you have help from the other side. Some sort of positive karma is playing out for you. So maybe some of you guys might be connecting with a past loved one here throughout this year. And by the way, you've already been doing this. Jupiter was in Gemini throughout most of 2024 as well. So you guys, a lot of you guys already know what I'm talking about. Where it seems like it could really go just like absolutely sideways and just like somehow by like divine intervention it works out for you is really what I feel. But again, like some of you guys also might be connected with angels or spirit guides, or it would benefit you to do so. So it may benefit you to even, especially like in altered states, you might find that spirit guides are communicating with you in altered states, especially. So that can be like dreaming, deep meditations. Try to avoid though like drinking or other types of altered states. That technically applies, but it may not play out as obviously as beneficial. Um I also do notice that Saturn is going to be squaring off here with Jupiter, right? So it does feel like a lot of you guys are having your beliefs challenged. Yeah. I see that for a lot of you guys is like you have this like tapped in, like you're literally the most intuitive sign this year. Like you definitely win that badge. And so you're kind of tapped into a lot of this sort of the other side and information that is coming in from the other side, but other people are not really believing you, or they're challenging it. They're sort of saying like, well, where are you getting that from? Like, what knowledge base do you have to even say that? Like they're trying to discredit you. This can feel really crappy, but the way that you can take this really is to say like, um, maybe these are clues to you as to how you can uh better that thing in some way. So what do I mean by that? I mean like it may be a reality check for you as some way that you can fully start to unfold the thing that is manifesting here. And the reason I say all this is because this is Jupiter and Saturn that we're talking about. And Jupiter and Saturn met up in a grand conjunction at the beginning degrees of Aquarius in 2020. This started a 20-year long process, which will unfold some major life event for you in that area. Okay. Now, for you, that is the 8th house, which I'll get into in a second. But whatever that is that you started in 2020 that was very important to you, that you started to see really like unfold during that time, maybe it started to go away and it was like gone for a while and now you're starting to see it like ramp up or come back in some way now, right? Or in the past like year. So what I'm saying is like now that these two are squaring each other, it's like saying it's in a phase of this where it is trying to help you manifest this thing by showing you sort of the weaknesses of it. So it's not really here in the sense to show you that, oh, it's not possible because of this thing. It's more so here to say it is possible. Now go fix this thing so that it can be the best that it can be. So when you have that feedback kind of coming into you, it can be easy to take it from a place of taking it personally. Um, Especially as cancers, we can tend to do that. So let's be honest. Um, Try not to do that, because Saturn here is really actually trying to show you the areas in which you can better something, so that it can be better later. And I feel like the area that is asking you to really better has to do with kind of your public image and just cultivating an image that is more professional, has a good knowledge base. There are a lot of things that you do know and have to share, but it's not coming across to people because it's not it's not translating. It's something got lost in translation here, is what I'm trying to say. There's some sort of knowledge and like reasoning of why you are right about what it is that you say that other people are not seeing. So this is a really good year for you to just really reevaluate the way in which you market yourself and the way you think about um how you present yourself to the world. Okay. You could really get a lot of leeway with that by the end of the year if you approach it that way in the beginning of the year. So again, for some of you, you might be updating your resume. Maybe you're getting an additional certificate or updating your website or whatever it is, right? And the best way for you to go about doing that, by the way, is really dependent upon your individual natal chart. So book a reading with me about that. Um, Now, when Jupiter is in the first, which it will be from June onward, that is where you can start to see more progress coming in regards to your career. A lot of you guys have felt really held back in your career for the last couple of years. You'll start to see that progress quite well by the end of next year here, starting in like June. Um, so I do see a lot of you getting like a lucky break during this time. Some of you might be moving as well during this time. I feel like a lot of you will feel like you're getting a fresh start. Maybe a fresh start with some family. Maybe you've had some conflict with family recently or something like that. Um, or a lot of you guys have had a lot of instability around your home here with South Node going through your fourth house for the last about year and a half. Um, so a lot of you have felt like, "Ugh, I don't feel at home where I am." I think a lot of that is going to really shift for you, especially starting here in June, where you start to feel yourself overcoming any of those toxic and any kind of like toxic relationship patterns that you've been seeing, any kind of sense of like, oh, I don't feel comfortable at home and stuff like that. You're going to feel that shift dramatically starting in June, especially here. I see this as a really good lucky break for some of you guys. I think I mentioned the benefactor thing as well. So for some of you, I see a benefactor really coming into the scenes and supporting you. Um, Now Uranus is also going to be shifting signs. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, so we already have some idea of what that's like. But it will be entering Gemini between July and November before it retrogrades back into Taurus. Now, Uranus is a slow moving planet. It takes about 7 years for him to go through a sign. So July to November will give us a taste of what this transit will be like when Uranus does enter it for a full 7 years starting in 2026. So for the first part of the year, it's going to be kind of business as usual. Since 2018, you've already had Uranus going through your 11th house, so you've already gone through a lot of really unusual experiences when it comes to meeting people, when it comes to networking. Maybe you've met some really cool, interesting, eccentric people who are really offbeat and have shown you some really cool things, maybe, is one way you can take it. A lot of you guys have maybe had major shifts in regards to your friend groups as well. Maybe some of the people you were friends with in 2018 you're no longer friends with anymore, or maybe you completely like revamped even how you do friendship. Maybe you've met a lot of friends online during this time period as well. These are all things that I can see really taking place for you. Maybe you had some unexpected opportunities to network as well. So maybe some of you guys got on podcasts, or maybe you did meet somebody who is like some eccentric type of benefactor, cool person that really supports what you do. Um, all of these things I can see playing out. But like I said, major ups and downs in regards to networking as well. Like you might have had like friends come in and out very quickly throughout this time frame as well. But from July to November, you'll get a taste of what it's like to have it actually shift into your 12th house. Now, that's going to be a little tougher because the 12th house is the house of our subconscious mind. So when Uranus enters this house, it can force us to face a lot of difficult karmic situations, karmic limitations, but all of these are internal difficulties that are being exposed to you. So even though you're coming, it's interesting that you're coming to this place where you're actually closing a chapter of feeling like I don't know where I really belong, where do I live, and all so on and so forth. How do or no, maybe not where do I live? How do I with South Node through the fourth, for some of you, maybe it wasn't about not feeling at home. Maybe you just had some major losses regarding your home or shift in your home life and family life and things like that. And now you're just trying to adapt to the new changes. I see through that. That's what I kind of see about Uranus going into the 12th here is saying that you are facing whatever subconscious blockages that you have are going to come up for you a lot wherever you're now ending up in this year. So I do see you trying to overcome a lot of internal difficulties. Some of you might have more paranormal type of experiences, by the way, with Uranus going through the 12th. You also might find it hard and difficult to sleep. Maybe some of you will get like insomnia or something like that as well. I can also see minor health issues for some of you guys. But all in all, I think like with especially with it going through the 12th and then it'll aspect Pluto, this is a really good year for you to try to overcome any major like psychological blockages. So definitely it's a really good year for your Cancer to deal with like maybe a therapist or do some regressions, get readings, that kind of thing. I feel like with Uranus through the 12th, especially with Gemini, you're like I said, I feel like Cancer is the most tapped in sign of all the signs this year. You're going to be very psychic. You're going to be able to tap to the other side pretty easily. So a lot of you guys are going to be getting messages generally throughout the year. Speaking of Pluto, we do have Pluto in Aquarius now. He will be there for the next 17 years. But this is a big shift overall, and it's significant this year because it's around the degree in which that grand conjunction happened that I told you about earlier. So a lot of Cancers have already been dealing with concepts around loss and betrayal. Okay. So I think a lot of Cancers are in this phase where they're rediscovering themselves because the eighth house can be about digging deep and like digging underneath the surface. Okay. And so the eighth house is who you are after you've lost everything. Who are you then? That's what the eighth house is about. And so I think a lot of Cancers feel like they've lost a lot of things in their life. Maybe they've gone through really big shifts and changes. Maybe they lost a family member. Maybe they moved somewhere vastly different. Um, maybe they just have there's just some sort of major shifts that they have gone through recently over the past couple years especially. And Pluto here is here to help you kind of see who you can really trust and who you can't. And so if you're a Cancer, you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about because you've already been kind of going through this. um but again, after you lose everything, who are you then? That's what this house is about. So a lot of Cancers are this year going to rediscover sort of these hidden talents about themselves, and just really see more about who they really are on a deep level, like beyond the masks, beyond all of the other stuff. Now, I also see you as really one of the strongest spiritually this year generally. You have a lot going for you in that regard this year. So I think again, this is a really good time for you to try to overcome any major psychological blockages. Really, the whole year you have a good opportunity for it. Like literally the whole year. So you are just like really tapped out spiritually this year. You are on fire spiritually more than any sign. The last thing we'll talk about is the North Node. So North Node is shifting to Pisces. It will shift into Pisces on January 29th. Yeah, January 29th. That rules your ninth house. So this suggests that you'll be expanding your consciousness quite a bit throughout this year. You had Saturn and Neptune go through this house throughout 2024, and you'll still have it in this house at the beginning of 2025. So you've already been going through a phase where you are unsure about what direction you should take. Where should I really go? Where do I really belong? This is probably the most common thing Cancer has said so over the course of last year. And I think that it's because you almost like have been having this sense of longing regarding where do I really go? What the ninth house is really about this ultimate destination. Like, where are you really going? What are you really unfolding? And are you tethered to something that is taking you there? Because if you're tethered to something that it does not have the same goal as you, then you will not end up at your goal. And so I think that a lot of Cancers have been in a place of questioning around these things, have been questioning their direction in life as well as what do they really believe in. Like maybe they have felt like their belief systems have been challenged in various ways during this time. But now that North Node is coming into this house and Saturn and Neptune are leaving it, you're going to start to get more clarity around that situation, I feel. I think now it's going to shift to having a lack of direction regarding career, as we talked about with the Neptune transit in there. It's going to shift more to how do I manifest this and run it as a business or something similar to that. But for this year with North Node going through the ninth, you're really focused more on expanding your general consciousness. Some of you guys might be going on trips again. I do think that a lot of you are going to be moving this year. But you might go on some sort of trip or spiritual escapade that also really helps expand your awareness or your consciousness in some way. Some of you guys maybe are going to be taking a course of some kind here with the ninth house being related to higher level education and learning. Some of you guys may get opportunities to teach yourself. Maybe you'll be asked to share some of your philosophies or something like that. I think a lot of you will have some really big realizations about what you really want to do and where you really want to go. And then you'll want to then make the changes and shifts towards that thing. So, for example, maybe some of you, especially like I said, around like the middle of the year when these planets shift out. But even in the beginning of the year with North Node first going into this sign, I see a lot of you maybe having some sort of spiritual realization about your life path and then going, okay, I now want to change what I'm studying at university. Okay, now I want to move to a place that does this thing or supports it more. Okay, but now I want to this and that. You get what I mean? So that's what I see a lot of you guys doing. And after we talked in the beginning about how Venus was retrograding, I can see how a lot of you are really focused on what can you do to really elevate yourself this year. And for a lot of you, that's going to be taking a course of some kind, getting a certification, and just updating your public image in some way. So that's my general take for you on 2025. I'm definitely wishing you guys the best of luck. Obviously, if you do a personal reading with me, we'll be able to get more in depth about how this will play out for your specific chart. So feel free to book that with me or check out my classes at calmspirit.com, KALM.com. Wishing you guys the best of your good luck.